What do you do with an outhouse that does not match your needs anymore, or even worse, it is dangerous to live in, as no one under its roof is secure anymore? Good afternoon, this is Pavel Stermach on UATV, bringing the hardest of truths and easiest terms for the whole world directly from Ukraine. Ukraine calls for what is obviously needed, a fundamental reform of the UN Security Council to build a safer and more just world. Russia's war against Ukraine clearly revealed the international security system is absolutely dysfunctional to the challenges faced by the modern world. The system whose very reason d'etre is to prevent wars of aggression and to stop them once they already erupt doesn't serve either of these purposes. The existing global security architecture actually does the contrary. With its indecisiveness and impotence, it welcomes an aggressor to abuse a veto right and a consensus principle, and you name it, what else. While the aggressor enjoys absolute impunity for its criminal deeds for decades, the international body that was designed to stop it all remains unreformed for decades just as well. Moreover, the aggressor presides over the very same organization that was created to stop him. No country should be beyond the law, and no international organization that does not match the urgent vital agenda of the world, literally falling apart, should remain sacrosanct and untouchable for whatever reason. Russia has blatantly abused its privileged presence, occupying a permanent seat of the Soviet Empire in the UN Security Council, and must be deprived of it and held accountable for all of its bloody crimes in Ukraine and around the globe. Instead of preventing aggression, it starts one and calls it a special military aggression, or whatever they call it in the Kremlin. Instead of protecting the rule-based world, it produces mayhem and then attempts to cut the piece of the peace, raising from the dead imperial Soviet ambitions. Instead of providing stability, it shatters the global law and order, and when the Kremlin cannot get what it wants, it threatens to nuke the world. And then the world is like, oh my god, it is them Russians. No problem, we in Ukraine have and know how to treat invaders, abusers and murderers. Go ask Commander-in-Chief Zaluzhny. It is important to remind once again that Russia's presence in the UN Security Council is illegal. Russia claims it has obtained UN membership and a permanent seat of the Security Council as a continuator of the Soviet Union. However, this decision has never been approved neither by the Security Council nor by the UN General Assembly in any way. Russia's permanent membership in the UN Security Council became the greatest diplomatic fraud of the 20th century and must be revoked. Ukraine calls for a thorough and honest reform of the Security Council in accordance with all challenges and realities of today's world, including removing geographic disbalances in the Security Council itself. Ability to act is vital, providing the UN General Assembly with the real opportunity to override a veto, addressing the illegitimacy of Russia's presence in the permanent seat, as well as its absolute non-compliance with the concept of a peace-loving state, while spreading terror, war and murder, both globally and domestically, directly and blatantly contradicting literally everything. Article 4 of the UN Charter says, should become integral elements of the UN reform process. We urge all countries who share the same goal to join Ukraine in this initiative, as each part of the world must be equally satisfied with the way the UN Security Council is built and organized. Russia is getting ready for winter time, meaning stockpiling missiles and kamikaze drones to target critical civilian infrastructure in winter and continue terrorizing civilians in Ukraine. We know it. And the better we are prepared, the more lives will be saved. Ukraine needs missile and air defense systems. It is paramount to safeguarding our city's economy and vital food corridors in the Black Sea and the Danube region. Protecting the Ukrainian skies secures Ukraine's future.
Це удар в напрямку АЕС.
This strike towards the nuclear power plant is another reminder to all our partners of how important it is to strengthen Ukraine's air defense and how dangerous it can be when Russia can bypass international sanctions. Many components in the attacked drones used by Russian terrorists, as well as in their missiles, originate from various countries, various companies, including Western ones. The effectiveness of sanctions against Russia is literally a defense against terrorism.
Swift and unimpeded delivery of Patriot, NASAMS, IRIS-T, SAMP-T, ATACMS, Taurus, it is vital for Ukraine, vital. Any delays impact Ukrainian forces requiring modern combat aircraft, artillery, drones, and complex counter-offensive measures. Our gratitude goes to our partners for the unwavering assistance, including most recent arms and munitions supplies, and our allies' commitment in providing Ukraine with crucial military equipment. The long-range ATACMS missiles recently delivered to Ukraine by the US have already been successfully used against Russia's occupation troops in Ukraine. Defending our critical energy infrastructure against Russia's airstrikes is only possible if Western defense and ammunition is delivered. And it is not only a strategic necessity, but also a cost-effective solution compared to the immense expenses of rebuilding destroyed social and energy structures. The world should consolidate efforts in combating terrorism worldwide until it is not too late. For a clear example, Russia's war against Ukraine and Hamas's attack on Israel are two actual embodiments of global terror. Russia loves war. Russia is war. Russia needs the war. In the Middle East, this new source of pain and suffering could undermine the unity of the world, distract the international community from the war of aggression and its heinous war crimes in Ukraine, increase discord and contradictions. Ukraine wants to convey our condolences to the families of victims, to those injured at Al-Ali Hospital in the Gaza Strip. And those in Israel, of course. The Ukrainian people deeply feel the pain of war because we live it every day. It is now critically important to avoid escalation in the number of civilian casualties on both sides of the conflict, in Israel and Palestine. To make it clear, Ukraine will never support acts of violence against innocent civilians, no matter how they are explained. We call to maintain unity in preventing violence against civilians worldwide, defending life and rules-based order at all costs. It is also critical to deliver humanitarian aid to those in need in a prompt and unimpeded manner too. Ukraine stands for restoration of regional stability and security, as well as implementation of the principle of two-state solution with Israel and Palestine coexisting in peace and security.
During our call, Saudi Foreign Minister His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud and I discussed the situation in the Middle East. I underscored the importance of protecting civilians in Israel and Gaza. We discussed the problem of the evacuation of foreign nationals from Gaza. I emphasized the urgency of opening a humanitarian corridor. Dmytro Kuleba, Foreign Affairs Minister of Ukraine, on X social network.
Let us talk facts and figures. Russia has spent $167 billion on its full-scale war against Ukraine between February 2022 and August 2023, according to open sources. This includes direct war expenses and lost equipment. Thousands of Russians are slain every week, but their lives mean nothing. They are worthless to the Kremlin. With such a money, Moscow could build 24,000 kindergartens across Russia, or 4,500 maternity hospitals, or 17,000 schools, or 1,300 hospitals, or finally rebuild 20% of all somewhat paved roads in Russia. Instead, Russian war criminals have bombed Ukrainian kindergartens, maternity hospitals, schools, and hospitals, destroying almost 120,000 civilian structures in total, including the latest brutal attack on Nova Post terminal in Kharkiv. Putin's Russia is the most heinous evil the world has witnessed since World War II. As simple as that. Russia's aggression against Ukraine has always been the Kremlin's war of choice, if you like. Putin and other Russian perpetrators must face justice for their deeds. Time for more on UATV, the question of the user. The question is, prior to the war in 2022, why was Ukraine not building its defense cooperations up, nor its stocks of armor? Was Ukraine dependent on the West to supply it during a war, or was it a lack of resources, something else maybe? Why was its stockpiles never built up prior to the invasion? Well, it were. We have always had warehouses, full warehouses of munition, and during the last years there was nothing but sabotage happening there. And somehow the warehouses exploded, one after the other. Secondly, I don't want to be ungrateful now, but the first massive supplies of weapons, and more importantly the armor, were carried out by the West in June 2022. Yes, we got anti-tank portable complexes and other munitions in February 2022. But till June we fought on our own stockpiles, and the Russian army is the second in the world not only in terms of equipment, but also in ammunition numbers that remained of the Soviet times. By the way, the Russians are now already using World War II trucks in military purposes. Well, whatever. Thirdly, and to resume the whole thing, we still did not expect that in the 21st century one country could start an open war against another country. War for what? For territory. Russia just wants to destroy Ukraine, despite everything, despite, for example, the fact that it signed agreements on the provision of security guarantees to Ukraine, the Budapest Treaty. But hatred is more important for Russians. And by the way, ask your politicians how full are the warehouses with weapons in your country? And is your defense industry ready for mass production of new ammunition? Because right now the Ukrainian soldiers, at the cost of their lives and health, are giving Europe time to adjust to the new realities of global geopolitics. Because if you think that Russia's expansion will stop in Ukraine, you are deeply mistaken. Dictators don't stop until they are stopped. It was Pavlo Stelmach breaking the hard truths in easy terms for you in our weekly wrap-up this Sunday. Please do not hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. We care for your opinion. Don't hesitate to question, and next time in our weekly episode I will do my best to answer it too. Stay safe and tune for more on UATV English.